Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. We are live on Friday afternoon ahead of a nice double game week for us. Double game week for Newcastle and Palace. Of course, we've all got 5-6 of their players, haven't we? We'll be talking about their assets and triple captaincy. Big Man is probably hitting that button. Dean's on the assistant manager's chip. Loads to get through in today's show. We'll answer your questions. We'll talk about some of the bookies' odds as well for both goals and clean sheets. First up, in his hometown of London, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I've been a little bit all over the place this week, trying to see as many people as possible. So I'm kind of exhausted. But yeah, so I actually, I don't feel ready for this game week, actually. I need this show to help me get tuned up. I've got a few million in the bank. I've got a transfer to use. I've got my assistant manager chip in play. Yeah, so I feel like I've got a big transfer decision still looming for this week that could help me get a few more points in the bag. It looks very windy where you are, by the way, mate. Are you all right? Your hair's not going to blow off there, is it?
Yeah, the wig might not stay on. I need some more Conte glue for my hair. Do you know what? I like to. This is the time of day my daughter naps, and when we streamed on Wednesday with Big Man, I was in the room next door, and she hasn't got a door on her room, so I was whispering the entire stream. I was like, I can't do that. So today I'd love to be inside because it is a bit chilly, although I am in shorts, flip flops, and a t-shirt. But yeah, it's outside only, so she hopefully sleeps. Big Man, going to come to you in a second. First though, Dean, just a quick question. You mentioned like you're exhausted by seeing lots of people. Yeah. Are you a socialite? Do you like time out? Do you like nights in? Like what sort of balance do you like? Like, are you a bit intro extrovert? Where are you at on the scale here?
I'd rather be out, but there's no one to look after the kids. So there's that. I don't enjoy hangovers anymore. That's for sure. That has changed. So I really haven't drunk much since I've been here. Tonight is our night out actually with other parents and no kids. So tonight's the night. It might get a little bit loose. Yeah. But yeah, it's more just like just a lot of people to see. You're back for 2 weeks. Everyone wants to say hello, and turns out 14 days isn't really enough time to please everybody. It's just the way it is. I've got to watch football as well at the end of the day. Sorry, people, but I have to make sure I'm watching Champions League, Premier League, and doing all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, nice. Big Man all the way from Pakistan. Big Man, firstly, how are you doing? And secondly, where are you on the introvert-extrovert scale? I bet you're quite a socialite, aren't you? And I'm sure you had some big Eid celebrations last week as well.
Hello, Gianni. Hello, Dean. Hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. It's an interesting question, actually. I think I would classify myself um, on the side of an extrovert as compared to an introvert. Generally, like socializing quite a lot with friends, going out every other night, having fun with friends. So yeah, I think I'm more of an extrovert generally, and it's actually most of the people. It's not as if I party that much or stuff like that. I generally just hang out with people I play football with, and I have this football group of close to like 500 people in my hometown, and I generally just play football all the time, every other day with them. And like some of them are my closest friends, so generally I hang out with them every now and then. So that helps, I guess.
Love that, and I love your T-shirt as well, Big Man. The Pep Roulette T-shirt.
Cheers. I think it's yeah. I thought I'd roll this one out today because it's actually quite appropriate looking at a lot of people who have Foden and Savinho.
We've got to talk about those Man City mids as well, and we'll talk about them more next week when we might be looking to buy one of them because City have the double game week, but I just can't see an argument to buy a Savio, a Doku, a De Bruyne, a Foden, Oscar Bob now back in the mix, and how that will affect Savio. But those with Foden is a big dilemma. So look, let's just talk a little bit about Man City now to start with, in terms of if you own Foden, Saka, and Rodgers. Let's just talk about those three players. What to do with them this week? Are they start, bench, or sells? Let's start with Morgan Rodgers because this is probably the most popular. Well, I don't know. Actually, Saka's probably the highest owned. Morgan Rodgers ain't going to start, is he, Dean? He surely can't, can he? Because there's 6 days between those PSG games. Wednesday, Tuesday turnaround. Emery has to fully rotate his key men, doesn't he?
Does he? I don't know. This is the thing. It's really a dilemma. When I was looking at my team this morning, I was like, literally, like, does Rodgers play? I just keep looking back at it and thinking, what are you getting out of Aston Villa if Rodgers isn't there? And do you want the team to completely kind of dip off while they're waiting for that second game? Obviously, PSG don't have a game this weekend. Like, their game was
They're not.
cancelled. No, it was
What?
cancelled to help them. Yeah.
Wow, and they've won the league anyway. Like, they can fully rotate. But I didn't realize the game was cancelled. Wow, Ligue 1 smashing it for their teams.
Exactly. So obviously PSG are ready to go invincible this season in Liga. They haven't lost a game, and yeah, they were due to have a game this weekend, and they don't have one now. So they played Aston Villa, and now they have a break, and so Aston Villa do have to bear that in mind that PSG are going to have fresher legs. So that's the main thing, to be honest, that makes me wonder how many minutes Rodgers plays here. I think if PSG also had a game, then you're like, okay, well, we're both in the same position here. But hey, you're not. You're 2 goals down, and they're sat there with their feet up watching your game at Southampton, analysing it. I mean, I think they shouldn't play any of the players. But also, it's Southampton. It's a chance for a confidence boost, isn't it? You can go and beat
the
them 4-0.
momentum of scoring goals, and
That's it. You want to be in that groove. Like you just played this really hard game where at times you didn't even touch the ball, and you're hoping for these breakaway goals. But this is a chance to assert yourself on a game, rebuild everyone, remind everyone why you're in the Champions League in the first place. And so that's what makes me think Rodgers does play and does start. I think, mate, I will start him. I think I'll take a gamble, and I'll put Morgan Rodgers in my team.
Big man, what's your take there? It's such a hard one to call. I've benched Rodgers the last 2 games. I mean, I knew he'd start in both of them, but for a 9 and 11 pointer, he is dangerous. He's a very dangerous bench player. But I am going to be benching him this week because I don't think he starts.
I think there are 2 or 3 ways you can look at it over here. I think there are people with, let's say, Rodgers who are looking at deciding whether to start or whether to bench him. There are other people who are considering whether it's worth bench boosting someone like Rodgers, even despite the fixture against Southampton, because minutes will surely be managed. And while I sort of agree with Dean to an extent that Villa would like to keep the momentum going, I still feel as if Rodgers played far too minutes for him now to start again against Southampton and then to keep on playing continuously given the fixture schedule for Villa. So I think if there was ever a game to rest him, this is the one. Now, that brings me to the next question. I think if you have a good option on your bench to cover, which I assume a lot of people will because they have set themselves up for a bench boost either in 32 or in 33, that makes me lean towards saying that Rodgers is a bench this week. I don't think I would probably start him. I would, in fact, be even reluctant to bench boost him. It wouldn't be a make or break decision for the bench boost, but he won't be a player I would feel too happy with because he could easily be a 1-pointer or even a 0-1. Let's say if he doesn't start and Villa are winning 1 or 2-0, is there any need to bring him on? There might not be. I see this as a game where the likes of Watkins can come in, Malen can come in. I'm not entirely sure whether Rodgers might make that cut. If you look at predictions from the Villa fans, you look at FPL Willen on Twitter, who's a reliable fan. He didn't have him in his lineup either. Similarly for Conza only for 50% chance to start, in his opinion. So, yeah, Villa players are a risk. Let's say if I owned both Saka and Rodgers, I still think I would play Saka over Rodgers because if both are playing, I still think I would have Saka as the superior option, right? Even though I think Saka will be benched as well. But for, let's say, both are starting, then I would rather have Saka in my 11. So, yeah, I feel very similarly about Saka as well. And I think he's a bench too if you can afford to.
Yeah. I have messaged, just as I stopped talking there, I did message my main Aston Villa contact, the one I trust probably the most to have a good answer on this. And I can see he is now typing on WhatsApp. So he's writing something to. I said, what's your best guess here on whether Rodgers starts v Saints? Is Emery likely to rest people? I want a fantasy show. I need to know this answer quickly. So hopefully, in a minute, I get an answer on that one. And as soon as I do, I will let you know what the.
These contacts are so good to you. You can just anytime here you are, just like firing a FPL question at you. And I know you always get responses from these people, so you've clearly built these relationships.
Yeah, I've probably jinxed it now, and he probably won't reply. Yeah, he stopped typing as I started saying that. So we'll see whether he actually ends up finishing what he was writing. But I hope so because I really want to know, and I know that he'll have better insight than me on what the actual thinking will be behind. Yeah, exactly. So as soon as that message comes through, if it does, I will he's starting typing in, so it will be coming. I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. For the double game week that does come in 33 for Villa, and we're talking about nailed Villa assets, without doubt, Morgan Rodgers is the most minutes nailed attacking player in that squad, and I put him ahead of Watkins, Asensio, Ramsey, Rashford, of course. Rodgers is Emery's boy. Go on. But
I've
I
got
don't
an
think he
answer.
starts Southampton. Go on.
He says he reckons it might be a similar team to last week against Nottingham Forest. Be amazed if Malen doesn't start. He's flogged Rodgers to death. If there's one game to leave him out, this is the one.
Come on, that's where we're all at. And Marlon, if you're looking for a 1 week punt, by the way, he can't play versus PSG. He's not in the squad. He is a banker. So yeah, I think we're all in the same boat there. Okay, so let's go.
Well, I wasn't. I was going to start him.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? He could have rested him last week, and then if he'd been rested last week going into PSG, you'd go, yeah, he starts Southampton. But the fact he wasn't rested last week, and he can't be next week either, because you look at the fixtures, yeah, it's the one to miss out. But let's talk about two players that are probably higher owned. Well, certainly in Saka's case. No one thinks Saka's going to start, do they? I think we do have an update from Arteta today in terms of a quote on Saka, because Saka did go off with a knock. They've both been past fit, apparently, from what Arteta's said. But there is no need to risk him in terms of a start, is there? Big man, where are you at with Saka and his chances of starting? Because a lot of managers are looking at bench boosting this week, and they might need a Saka or a Foden start. There's no point risking Saka, is there, given the fact that the Real Madrid, the Bernabeu clash is only 4 days, I think, after the game, or 3 days after?
Yeah, so what I feel about Saka is very similar to the lines of what I said about Rodgers. There's just no need to play him. I think Sterling, Merino, Trossard, all these guys will probably start 180, three of these four. And there's just no reason to play Saka at all. I mean, I would be shocked if he ended up starting. I think the centre backs would probably play Saliba and Kivior. If I was to guess, I would suspect that Timber. I don't think Timber will be starting either. So if I had these players, I would probably be looking at benching them. And I see a lot of people who have, Mateta, Evan Nelson, João Pedro. I would play these guys over Saka if I had the option this week.
Yeah, okay. Dean, I guess you're in a similar school of thought. I mean, he can't bench. He can definitely start Wanyeri and a Sterling, right? You'd expect them to come and start. Moreno maybe not, because Moreno's so key. So he needs a rest as well. The benefit for Arsenal is there's 8 days between fixtures, not 6, because their turnaround is Tuesday, Wednesday. Do you think that makes a difference? Or given the fact that Saka's been out injured, he just needs a rest?
I'd just leave it, to be honest. If I was him, this second leg is absolutely key. He says there's no injury problem there. He's obviously come off in that first leg, though. I mean, we knew he wouldn't get through the whole game, but the way he came off wasn't totally convincing that he was completely okay, right? So, he seemed either to be carrying a small knock, or he was just extremely tired. So a start for Saka would seem a bit silly to me. It's unnecessary. So I think it's right to expect Saka is sub for this game, and then after that Real Madrid one, I think he comes completely back into the picture again.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Foden then, big man, this is a tough one. Were you surprised so many went for, I say so many, a couple of content creators backed Foden, very good FPL managers, content creators, and because they backed Foden, loads followed. I thought it was a terrible decision. I said from day one, picking Foden on wildcard, even I don't think I would have done it. And that's saying something, because everyone knows I love Foden more than anyone in terms of an FPL asset, but only when he's starting, only when he's nailed. I don't pick Foden when he's not nailed. And Foden ain't nailed at the minute. Now, 2 games ago, fresh off everyone's Game Week 30 wildcard, he was benched. Pep went for Doku and Savio. In the Manchester derby in Game Week 31, he dropped Doku and Savio, who both played really well against Leicester, and he went for Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne and Foden. What happens versus Palace? Does he go for the wingers, or does he go for the inside forwards? And do you think Foden starts? Because I'm tempted to say I don't think he does start versus Palace. I think Foden, when we're talking about benching Saka and benching Rodgers, with Foden, I think we're talking about selling him. I'd get rid.
I agree. I completely agree. So with Foden, I think unless you get a leak that he starts, because it's the early kickoff and we might get a leak, I think he's a sell. I would expect Savinho to come back in, actually. So if you have Savinho, I think I would start him over, let's say, Saka, because I expect Savinho to start and Foden not to. But yeah, I mean, I think I would look at potentially getting rid of Foden if I had him, unless there's a leak suggesting that he starts.
Yeah, same for you, Dean. I mean, annoyingly for the Foden owners, they probably will get a leak because it is the early kickoff, and Foden will be the one the leakers want to update people on.
Yeah, I mean it's just a bad pick in my eyes, to be honest. But there probably will be a leak on that one. I'd say that there's actually quite a strong chance that you get a leak on the Foden one, so that there might be an outlet there for them. Crystal Palace at home, I think it's a good fixture for Foden if he does get the nod. I don't think it's a bad. I think it's a bad one, that's for sure. And it kind of it's a good gamble because so many people are on Crystal Palace assets, and if you really want to try something, then Foden could be the one that does it. Like if he ruins Crystal Palace clean sheets, ruins Glasner points as assistant manager, and gets some points for himself, like Foden could really shift the dynamic of where your team heads this week. But it's still a gamble. You've got to be in a situation whereby you've got nothing to lose, really, I think.
We'll try and bring you some quotes from Unai Emery, by the way, guys. He is speaking at the moment. The Fantasy Football Scout, which is my favourite place to go, by the way, and the screen grab we just showed was from Scout's homepage. Follow them on Twitter, but Emery has said all the players that made the PSG squad are available. That doesn't mean we don't know who's going to be left out and who plays, but I expect in the next few minutes us to get more quotes on that from Emery.
Yeah. Do you think Malen's actually a good pick?
Only if you've got so many transfers or you're wildcarding next week, because Malen come that double in 33 could very easily miss both of those games, like be impact sub twice. But for Southampton, if you're looking for, we don't really look at 1 week punts anymore in FPL.
Not really.
That's the problem. 1 week punts are so difficult with the new transfer rule, being able to carry pre and post wildcard and accumulate more than 2.
Yeah.
That's annoyingly. So I think 1 week punts loads of fun.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's kind of he's talking about Malen as someone that covers Crystal Palace very closely. Covers Villa closely. It has put it in my head a little bit that I have one transfer to play with this week, and I'm not against bringing in somebody who's playing against Southampton and has a point to prove. I'm going to put him on my little shortlist, I think, for being on the guy that comes in on my transfer this week. I don't have to make one, obviously, but that's where I am. I also asked him.
You could then hope he starts one of the 2 games in the double, because Villa do have a 33 double, and you might get lucky that he does get a start.
Well, if he does well here, then he probably will, right? Yeah, he said. I said, "Will Rashford be benched?" He said, "Probably for this one," but Watkins set to start. So. I mean,
it's funny that left-hand side. Like, if we assume Asensio starts and Leon Bailey starts, so let's say Asensio cam, Leon Bailey on the right, Watkins number 9. Who plays on the left of that 3? Because McGinn's going to get a rest, surely. So it's going to be either Rodgers on the left, because he plays every bloody minute, or does he play Jacob Ramsey on the left, who did play against PSG, but I expect Ramsey not to start game 2. I think game 2, they'll go Rashford left, Watkins number 9, because they're chasing. They're 2 goals down.
Right.
Ramsey, therefore, I expect to play versus Southampton, despite playing. Ramsey got the nod in Paris. That was a huge call from Emery. Huge call from Emery.
He likes him a lot. Yeah, and he can't rest everyone for this Southampton game.
Yeah, exactly. There isn't 11. There was not a 22-man squad that are 22 Premier League players starters. In every position. Let's talk about triple captaincy, because Big Man is on that button, probably. Big Man, are you on that button? Does that mean bench boost next week, triple captain this week?
Yes, I am. And as we sort of spoke about it in the previous show, I think my team is sort of well set up in a flexible, hybrid manner where I can sort of potentially use either of the 2 chips this week. And looking at the potential rotation that might hit this week, I think I will be triple captaining Isak. I mean, I have Martinez and Konza on the bench, but then again, they have doubles next week. I'm not even sure Konza starts this week. And the main thing for me is that I want to have further clarity on who the best Gabriel replacement is. And I'm not currently sure right now. I would probably go Ruben Diaz, but I do have a feeling that Palace scored this week, so I don't exactly want to bench boost with Ruben Diaz either. So I might as well just leave it and look at it next week with 3 free transfers in hand.
Definitely the right call there. I think rolling the transfer and captain Isak. Are you just give us the update on Jason Tyndall today, big man? I don't know if you've seen the quote. I can read it out, but in terms of your thinking with it, because Tyndall spoke today in the press conference, I think it was over Eddie Howe. Tyndall does love it. He loves getting the call up for the press conference.
I don't remember the exact quote, but I remember it being something to the extent of that something to the effect
I've
of
got
that
it.
Isak is fine and he will be available. They expect him to be available, something along those lines.
Yeah, he's trained and he feels fine. One we assess day by day, but we're hoping he's available. Of course he is. On Gordon, by the way, guys, it looks like they'll make a late call whether he's available for the bench on Sunday. And again, when Gordon's been out for a while, you don't expect him to come straight back into 11. Friend of the show, FPL Chai, did go Gordon on wildcard last week, so he's going to be gutted because Murphy's coming with the big points. But on Isak, Dean, they talk about like week by like monitoring him. He's clearly been carrying something for a while, but we also have to remember with players like Isak, they rarely play at 100%. Like these players and most Premier League footballers, like same with Saka. When's Saka ever going to be 100%? Maybe game week 1, like the same as Isak. So it's fine. Like there are players that just pick up knocks easier than others, and they manage how to play with them almost week in, week out.
Yeah, and obviously, like Isak just makes such a difference to this Newcastle team. His points return actually recently hasn't been that strong. Like if you look over the past 4 game weeks, like you haven't got that much out of him. 14 points over 4 weeks for Isak. So like it's not great, but it's the potential of him when this team is in their full rhythm. And even sometimes when he hasn't returned, if you watch the whole game and you watch his movements and how for me with Isak is how he's just poised on somebody's shoulder at all times. Newcastle so many times this season just haven't played that ball quickly enough. And he could have been in for so many more than he actually has been. So I don't think he's going to play 2 lots of 90 minutes here. But it probably is 2 starts in my book. I still think like there's enough confidence in me to get that. And if it's not 2 starts, it's 1.5. Like you get 1 start and then you get a decent subs appearance. So Isak still for me is the captain for this week.
Nice. By the way, guys, we read all your comments in the chat, and Mark says Murphy is a good pick, but the hype is crazy. One of the goals was proper fortunate, and you're right, it was off the bar from Shah from 60, 70 yards.
True.
I would say Murphy is a good pick and fair play, but he absolutely has saved the wild card as bacon. Without Murphy points, the wild card in game week 30 for many looks pretty bang average in my opinion. I know that's going to offend a few. Paul as well in the chat, good to see your comments. All your channel members, we read and where possible bring up your questions as well. We did have a question on Merino. Do we think Merino starts? I think it's probably quite unlikely because he's such a key man now as a number 9 almost for, I think Trossard could play that role. Only 38 likes as Heather. And it is free. Thank you, Heather, for that shout out. We haven't reminded you today, if you fancy hitting that subscribe button, for us that's the most important button. We love the like, we love your comments, hit them all, but please do subscribe to Chasing Green Arrows. We stream Monday, Friday, and we might start doing some deadline streams very, very soon with me and Big Man. So guys, if you would love to see an early deadline stream before all the YouTubers go, I'm talking 8 a.m. UK time, let us know in the chat if that is something you would watch. 8 a.m. UK time on a Saturday morning when none of those FPL YouTubers are live. They don't go live till 9. They do 2 hours. We might chuck an hour in. What do you reckon, guys? Would you be up for that? Let us know in the chat. We genuinely want to know.
Would you be up for that? Would you be awake in time?
I mean, I'm an hour ahead here, so whilst I'm in Italy, I'll be up. When I move back to England, I'm not so sure.
Well, the season will be it'll be the pre-season by the time you leave there. What
June.
July,
it'll be the Club World Cup. Yeah, end of June. So got a while yet.
June. On Merino, didn't he play? Did he play midfield in the Everton game? Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, I think he played. Did he play Trossard in the Everton game? I think he did, but he didn't against Real Madrid, did he? Right? Yeah, but then against Real Madrid, he played Merino number 9, did he?
Yeah.
With Martinelli left, Saka right, and obviously Odegaard was back in because Odegaard didn't play versus Everton either. He gave them a rest going into Real Madrid. A lot of those players
paid off.
Which makes me wonder, does out of nowhere Arteta start an Odegaard, whoever, because he'll go with that whole momentum approach because of the 8 days versus Emery, who can't go with the momentum approach because it's 6 days. It's an interesting one.
Do you think, just to go off piece a little bit, Declan Rice, given the free kick expertise, is he going to become a better pick for next season in this game? We're finally going to look to Declan Rice if he's allowed to become a number 8?
Yeah, I mean the corners are great, and we know
Yeah.
Arsenal for corners are brilliant. You picked him for that reason last season at one point. The shots from distance might continue from a number 8 as well. Like, let's see what Arsenal do in the transfer market for a proper holder. I love Jorginho, you know that, but he's not going to be around next season. And Partey, I don't know if he's got a long-term future. So if, depending on who they sign, and Dean, you're one for this, then that makes Rice a better number 8 if they sign a proper number 6.
He's desperate to do it. He's desperate to do it.
He's got to.
I spoke to straight after he played that Real Madrid game. I spoke to a friend of mine, is his like one-on-one coach, and he's been telling me for ages, like, wait until Deck is allowed on free kicks. Wait until he's like, he is so good at it. He just doesn't get the chance to show it. It's like at West Ham, there's always like Mark Noble and people like ahead of him, and he gets to Arsenal, and obviously you're competing with like Odegaard and Saka or whoever else. He said, and he just needed to have the chance in a massive game to show what he can do. It's like, that was not fluke. He does that all day long and has done since way back at West Ham when he was a kid. But obviously he just hasn't been able to show it. And I was like, ooh, FPL asset incoming here. If Declan Rice is becoming the new David Beckham as well as everything else he does, then I've got my eye on him.
Yeah, I like that. And I love that you're mates with his one-to-one coach. That is an awesome little lead there for Chasing Green Arrows. So stay tuned for next season, guys. We'll have some more updates on Rice as he actually becomes an FPL option. Big man, where should we take the conversation now? Should we look at some goal projections before we see our teams, do you reckon? I guess you've been studying the clean sheet odds and the goal scoring odds this week. Oh, you're muted. As you are muted and coming off that, Toby says, Gianni, that's a great green screen behind you. It's such a good green screen that I've got to be careful I don't lean back too much because, I can knock it. So, we'll be careful there. To you, big man.
Yeah, I was saying that we should have a look at Rob T's projections so that we can then discuss, some of the performers of the week that we expect to do well. I would assume that Isak would be the clear front runner when it comes to goals, as you can see on screen. Because of the two fixtures, he's well and above the rest. That I think this graphic alone should be enough to settle the captaincy conversation. I just don't think there is any conversation this week. Apart from that, Salah and Palmer remain good options. Palmer was taken off at the halftime minute mark last night, but Maresca did mention later in the interview that it was because they had pre-planned that his minutes will be managed, so he should be good for this week. But I think he's sort of reaching that territory where Chelsea's fixtures are turning kind of, and because they don't have a double next week, I assume a lot of people will be selling Palmer for Saka. João Pedro will be a good option. Marmoush, Mateta, Watkins, as we've spoken about earlier, we'd expect him to start. So these are our players who we expect to do well this week. I think most of us own most of these players, so it should be a high-scoring week when I come to think of it. Even Palace, a lot of us have the likes of Munoz, Sarr, Mateta, Eze. While those fixtures, City away and Newcastle away, don't seem to be that amazing on paper, I still think they will score in both games. So I still think there are points to be had for the attackers. As you can see, Mateta still in the image, and I think he's 5th or 6th for projected goals. So we should get some attacking returns from Palace as well.
Dean, what do you make of that with Mateta? Like, he's the number 9 for the other team that have 2 fixtures. And obviously the number 9 that has 2 fixtures from Isak, 1.31, 2 homes. Mateta's got 2 aways, and it is going to the City, which is never easy, even this season. But going to St James's Park too. But 0.63 feels like a little bit underwhelming there. Like, when Isak's 1.3, and Mateta's been a bloody good FPL option when he's played this season, and Palace have scored goals. Like, Palace are scoring lots of goals. I'm surprised that's that low. I would have expected Mateta to be above Salah. I'd expect it to have gone Isak, Mateta, then Salah, Palmer, blah, blah, blah. So if you were looking for a differential captain this week, would you go to another Newcastle attacker, Jacob Murphy, or would you go to a Mateta? I mean, I'm with Big Man. There is no conversation really this week, but if you really do want to go rogue on captaincy, and I would captain Isak, absolutely, you all should, no matter where you are in your mini leagues. But Mateta should be higher than 0.63, shouldn't he, for 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, all we can do really is look at what his away fixtures have been recently and what returns we've got. Now, if you were to just look at the last 2 away games, and it's returns, you'd be like, okay, got 1 point against Southampton, but you can kind of ignore that one. And then you've got 5 points in the away game against Fulham. Go to the next 3, though. 13 points he got against Man United when they played them away. 13 points when they played West Ham away. 8 points when they played Leicester City away. I mean, for me, that's really encouraging. Like, I don't think it matters too much that these fixtures aren't perfect. Man City and Newcastle, both teams that definitely leave the back door open, are definitely vulnerable at times. And Palace are the sort of team that could definitely exploit the weaknesses that they have. So, given that this Palace team are also playing for their shirt at the moment for that FA Cup semi-final, I know Mateta's like a shoe-in to be playing that game anyway, but the players around him are going to be looking to tee him up. Like, this is a big game week for Crystal Palace. So, yeah, I mean, Savio's saying the data looks sketchy for Mateta. I just don't really agree with that. I think that, like, if you're looking for someone to return over these 2 games, Mateta's the place I'm looking first and foremost.
I'm with you there, and he did hit the bar versus Southampton earlier. If that goes in, that's a very different outcome. So yeah, I like Mateta, and it is worth noting the single game week assets this week aren't bad in Salah and Palmer. And Palmer was bad yesterday, and he did get hooked at half time. There's a bit of worry there, being like, oh, why has he been taken off? He's not injured, and it was pre-planned. But Chelsea were way better second half. I did watch the. I'm guessing very few people watched that football match. It wasn't brilliant, but yeah, Madueke coming on second half really helped as well. Just want to draw our attention away from the projected odds, but we will come back to this with clean sheets and some other bits. But yeah, really useful as always from Rob T. Follow him on Twitter. And I want to ask Big Man on Conor Bradley, because for someone like me that might not be free hitting or using a chip in game week 34, Liverpool are interesting, and Conor Bradley is obviously a very cheap defender. Liverpool have got okay fixtures, right? They play West Ham this week, Leicester next, and then Spurs in 34. And today, the quote's really interesting from the press conference. I think the most interesting quote today has come from Arne Slot, because he's been asked about Conor Bradley, who is back and available. And he mentions Curtis Jones doing a good job there. But he also mentions when Trent isn't there, you have to look behind you and see that Conor is available. But then if he isn't available, how do we solve the problems? And it worked well against Everton to have Curtis, blah, blah, blah. But then he says, but now to have Conor back, I think we all would make the same decision, and that's playing Conor in that position. Now we know Trent is off. There seems little point in playing Trent in these games. Liverpool need to know if Bradley's going to be first choice next season, or if they go into the market, or they need to know who they're buying at right back. Are they buying a deputy to Bradley? Are they buying someone more experienced? Are they buying someone that will come in and play in every game? So Big Man, Bradley for the run-in feels like a really good bet, doesn't he? Because surely he's going to start the vast majority of Premier League matches now.
He will. I think he's a good option for the price. It's a shame that Liverpool don't have any doubles left at this stage of the season, but even then, apart from that, he should be a good option for the next 2-3 weeks. The thing is that you could argue that Liverpool are at that stage where the league is pretty much done, so they might not be as solid defensively. And when you look at some of the upcoming fixtures, for example, in 34, Spurs at home, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Brighton away, the fixtures aren't exactly amazing. I would expect Liverpool to concede in some of these fixtures. So, I mean, while Bradley has emerged as a good enabler, I am sort of worried about Liverpool's motivation and their fixture schedule.
Yeah, Dean, what's your take there on Bradley? Because we know when we've seen him play in the Premier League, he's like old school Trent under Klopp, where it was like out and out wing backs, and Bradley loves to get forward. He's got a good shot. He'll get lots of touches in the opposition box. For fixtures like West Ham and for fixtures against, I think it's Leicester in 33, like Bradley feels like he's got a proper ceiling there.
So I was on mute. Yeah, he does definitely, and obviously people are shifting away from players like, some people are still shifting away from Gabriel and stuff, and you're looking to save some money here. And with Conor Bradley, you get somebody that is lowly owned, cheap, and playing for the team that's about to be crowned champions for probably the rest of the season. So there's definitely a good chance he plays. There was a tweet I was just trying to find. I'll just try and find it in a second. As to the bad side about Bradley, and people like, the thing is, like, it's so we don't know what we're getting from him. He hasn't played for so long. We don't know how long he's actually going to be able to play for. We don't know what sort of form we're going to get out of him. And I guess that is something to consider. But Slot will have seen him in training, and I'm sure.
I'll tell you one thing I like about defenders when they've been out for a while. It's like, if Bradley's going to get 60 minutes, obviously you're dreading the 59-minute sub, but there's a very good chance he gets at 65, 70 in the next couple of games. I like that for my defenders because there's a very good chance the clean sheet is then locked in earlier. I think depending on my strategy, if I wildcard in 34, not thinking about buying Bradley next week. If I don't wildcard in 34 and I wildcard in 35, I'm looking for players that play in 34. Well, Bradley ticks that box. And I'd bring him in for Leicester next week, and then I get Leicester and Spurs before a wildcard. So I'm genuinely tempted. Often this point in the season, because of our chip strategy and because of the doubles and singles and blanks, we only focus our attention on certain teams. In the last week, we've only been buying Newcastle and Crystal Palace players, for example. I hate that in FPL, and I sometimes think, there's that player that went and got a hat-trick, but we weren't looking at them because they had a blank in 4 weeks' time, or we weren't looking at them because they don't double next week. Liverpool might be one of those teams. Now, Liverpool don't have doubles, but they don't have blanks, and we're not looking at their players because of our chip strategy. So my advantage there on the template chip strategy, who are all free hitting in 34, is I can go Bradley against Leicester in 33, for example. So, it's just small little edges you might gain on the field. It's worth noting, guys.
I mean, if price isn't an issue, obviously Bradley's cheaper, but I mean, Cucurella has a good run of games.
But benched the last 2 games, which was very strange. He was benched last night, which I didn't expect.
I can't see him being benched for this one as well, can you?
It's just weird that I couldn't believe it last night because he was benched in the Premier League game going into the Europa Conference. For 2 games on the trot was strange. But Maresca does this. He's been Chelsea's best player this season.
Chelsea's best player, 5.4 million, only like 10% ownership. Next game's at Ipswich, Fulham, Everton. Is he a better pick than Conor Bradley? I think he is. I think personally Cucurella would be somebody I look at before Conor Bradley. But.
Yeah, okay. Guys, we've got to see our teams, and we also got to ask you to hit those buttons if you can. I'll speak to our producer at some point to let us know when we're going to do some giveaways, but it might be next Friday, but we certainly want to do some more giveaways. But we would love you to like and subscribe to the channel. There's loads of people out there watching from the 230 that are not subscribed. That's fine if you don't want to, but there's loads watching that perhaps think they are and they're not. If that's you, I thought we were going full screen for my subscribe push. I was like, that is very shopping telly. That is very shopping telly. Down the lens, Gianni. Call to action, 30 seconds. Tell them why to subscribe. Anyway, I don't need to do that, guys. You know what I'm saying here, but please do just double check and hit that button if you're not already subbed. Dean, talk us through your team. You've got a free transfer. You've got triple Palace with Glasner, and you've got triple Newcastle in place now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't made my transfer yet. This is kind of the leftovers from where I was last week. I haven't really set firm decisions yet, so that the bench is not like confirmed or anything. I do have, that transfer and the Morgan Rogers situation to consider. So with Rogers, I guess do I trust Mbeumo against Arsenal? Do I trust Bruno against Newcastle? Do I want to go 5-man defence and just play Kirkes? Or do I want to bring in a gamble and have Malen in my team instead of Rogers? I could do that. I could just go a bit hopeful and think, right, not that many people are actually going to go for Daniel Malen as their transfer of the week to play against Southampton. And yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Someone just said, ISG says Bellegarde to Rice. Yeah, I'm not going to Rice this week.
Bellegarde's not going to be in your 11 either. You're going to go in Mbeumo or Bruno because same as last
Bellegarde
week,
at home to Tottenham.
It is the best fixture for him in the league at the minute. Other than Leicester, it's the best fixture, the best opponent to play off the back of a European night as well. But that's still not scoring more than a goal because Wolves just don't.
You don't think I'm brave enough to play Bellegarde ahead of Mbeumo, Fernandes or Kirkes?
Big man's going to be tearing his hair out on that one. Big man, what do you make of that? And Mbeumo and Bruno on the bench for Bellegarde. You can't, can you?
No chance. I think Dean, if you're looking at Marlon, I think it's probably too short term when you look at it at this stage of the season. I understand the punt, but let's say if you were wildcarding next week, then I would have understood the punt. But you're effectively looking at I think at least a double-digit haul for him to make the transfer in and out to be worth it, and I don't think that's um, probably going to be worthwhile. So I think you can either save the transfer or look at something else. And I looking at your team, you already have three Newcastle, three Palace, so there's nothing pressing to address. So I think I
Yep.
would just play one of Mbomo or Fernandez over Bellegarde. Uh, I would actually be tempted to play both of them over one of your
Rodgers and
defenders
Bellingham.
as well. Probably, probably,
Guardiola.
probably, probably, probably Guardiola or even Rogers is a risk. Actually, I would be tempted to bench Rogers as well. So yeah, I think I'd probably go 4-3-3 and play Mboma and Fernandez over Rogers and Bellegarde. That's the way I
Yeah.
would go, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, I don't have to use my transfer this week, and if I'm going to be wise, then maybe I should just kind of leave that one in my back pocket. It's just obviously like an opportunity. I've got the assistant manager chip in play. What is my rank at the moment? I know I've moved up a little bit further, so I'm like I'm in a good groove at the moment. I keep getting little green arrows that have pushed me in a much better situation. Yeah, 280k I'm now at, whereas a few weeks back I think I was dropped down to 600 or something. So I've repositioned myself quite nice, and I kind of really don't want to have just a stale week, and that's why I kind of want to make a transfer
So
like
welcome
Malen.
Malen to come play next to Bellegarde. I love it. I love it. You
Yeah,
keep chasing
Malen
Dean.
and
You've done well
Bellegarde
this
to
season.
chase my green arrow. I mean, that nobody else in the game was doing that. I know that for sure.
There we go. I look forward to seeing Dean's team with Mbermo and Bruno in it and no transfer made this week. Well, hopefully you see sense. Let's move on. Glasner, by the way, assistant manager chip. Let's just see that graphic, Dean, with your options this week, because we've made a graphic where we can see some of the 32 options. Now, Glasner, you had pick up good points for you. This is now Glasner for bonus points for you. Like, he's now got 4 games in 2 weeks, and I think City, Newcastle and Arsenal all come with bonus. So you have 3 potential bonus games. You're not tempted to move. I mean, the only other place you'd move it would be either an Arteta or Howe. You can't go Howe because you've already got 3 Newcastle. And Arteta, yeah, it feels like you'll get 2, maybe 3 wins, but there's no bonus points down. You'd have to use a transfer. So you're pretty set on Glasner, right? For the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, last week, obviously, we had the conversation and we were talking about how 40 points was kind of like the golden ticket to use this assistant manager chip and aim to get around 40 points if you can. And obviously, by getting 8 in the first week, Glasner is so far on track to get to the 40. Even if he drops slightly short, like it's fine. I don't expect him to go and win all of these games, obviously. But there's no point. There's no point in my eyes of switching here. Obviously, I've already got 3 Newcastle assets, so I can't get to Eddie Howe anyway, and there's nobody else really that I would have an appetite for at this point, knowing that Palace got 4 games left to play. So, yeah, last week when I made that decision, it was kind of set in stone, and that I would just leave it. And so far, so good.
Good stuff.
Gianni, I actually wanted to ask.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask whether the Palace game against City would be applicable for bonus points, because Palace are currently 11th, Man City are 6th. So would that qualify as being eligible for bonus points? I'm not sure. There are 5 places between them. I'm sure it will
it's 5 or more,
apply to Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle are 5th.
So yeah, I think bonus is an option. I think it does apply for Man City. I think it does.
I think Dean can come out of that game with some good points then, because I can see a draw for Palace if I was to guess.
So what would I get for a draw? I always get confused with it.
You get 5 bonus points plus the 3 draw points, so it's 9 for a bonus draw, which is better than a normal win for Arteta, which is 6. So, and obviously, if you're getting a draw, you're either getting clean sheet or you're getting goals. So, I think you might just need to check that. Someone in the chat, yes, bonus applies against City, says ISG. I think it's 5 or more. I think the 5th spot counts as 1. So, yeah, we'll just anyone else in the chat.
Yeah, so especially with that in mind, I just might as well run it, just let it run. Like City could play great, they could not. I have literally no idea. So, Crystal Palace will feel like they've got a chance to go there and do something.
We've got a poll, by the way, about triple captaincy. Let us know. We're going to go on to Big Man's team next, so this will help see how many are on it, because Big Man, just explain what effective ownership is in a nutshell, and how do you think Isak will be 200% plus EO? Because I think he will be from the polls I've seen. I think we'll get 200% plus Isak, which means if you're not triple captaining him, you actually don't want him to do well in a weird way. But you can describe that way better than I can.
It's effective ownership is basically the percentage of the player that you own, basically. So if a player is 200% owned, let's say Isak is your captain, your effective ownership of him is 200%. But let's say if his effective ownership is 250% in the field, then that means that 50% of Isak's points will count against you and they will go against your total. So that's the way I would look at it. And I would expect it to be close to 210, maybe 220, because Isak is fairly well owned. He's owned by practically every other engaged manager. And all of those who have the chip left, I would assume, will be using the triple captaincy chip this week very heavily. So it will be close to maybe 210 is a tad too high, but close to 200, I would think, between 180 to 200.
Dean, how nuts is that? As if he's over 200, you and I, who are captaining Isak, don't want Isak points.
I know. But what else can we do?
I know. Like, well, you've got to hope that your Jacob Murphys or your Livermentos or whoever we own gets the assist for those goals, and therefore you do get points on the field.
Yeah.
Hoping that others don't own Livermento or Murphy.
I mean, does that mean that like there is an argument for me to go? I'm not going to do this, but should there be more of an argument for me to go Mateta in my team, like, given that I've got him? Or am I just? There's so much to lose, though, isn't there?
So much to lose.
Dean, I think you should just keep it simple and just captain the guy you expect to score the most points.
Exactly. Well, that's what I've done. Yeah,
exactly.
That's why
and Big Man's right.
Exactly.
He might come in under 200, and if he's under 200, you want every one of those goals. So there won't be much in it. Are you triple captaining Isak this week? 33% are doing it. 60% are just captaining him, like me and Dean, and 8% are going for someone else, probably Mateta. Big Man, this is your team. You're thinking. Well, tell us what you're thinking.
Well, I'm thinking to use the triple captaincy this week with the plan to roll the transfer. That would give me 3 free transfers next week. I don't think this team necessarily requires a transfer this week. And then next week with 3 free transfers, I can maybe get a third City, maybe get, let's say, Saka for Palmer, and maybe get a Villa attacker in. Whether that's Rodgers or Watkins, I can assess closer to the time. So this game week sort of presents me with the opportunity to sit back and just assess how things are after next week. And with both triple captain and bench boost available, I think I will probably avail the opportunity to roll the transfer by triple captaining Isak.
Who would you sell to get a Rodgers? Murphy, because you can't sell a Palace
Murphy.
midfielder because they got the double.
I'm talking about next week. I can do Murphy. Yeah. Murphy to Rodgers is the plan.
That's hard though, because he's got Ipswich in. You're free hitting in 34 though, so you could still buy Murphy for Ipswich.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why selling Isak to Watkins is fine as well. If push comes to shove, I can do that, because Newcastle's fixtures after 34 aren't exactly amazing. They're Brighton away in 35, Villa away in 33. So we're sort of now approaching that sort of expiry date for Newcastle and Crystal Palace players. After this week, I'm pretty sure a lot of us will be looking to get rid of them one by one.
Dean, what do you make here of Big Man's team? He's in good shape. Would you expect Saliba to start, and any sort of changes you'd make there on the bench?
Yeah, I think he's got it bang on, actually, to be honest. I think that this is exactly the team that I would go for if I was in that position. Saliba's fine. Emi Martinez should be nailed on for a clean sheet. It's a really nice team. The Eze-Sarr combination is a good one. Obviously, there's no Mateta here, which is probably the only thing that's really missing.
I would just like to add that I'll be playing Henderson over Martinez because of the double. So I am expecting some points.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
I'm expecting some points on the bench from Martinez and Konza and Evan Nelson, but that's fine. That's something I've just got to sort of live with having a deep bench.
Yeah, nice. I've just looked ahead at that 34 free hit, by the way, and seeing Ipswich in there, like for Newcastle, so many are going to go Murphy, Gordon and Isak on a free hit, which is quite nice. And by the way, Anthony Gordon, I've just tweeted this. Anthony Gordon is going to be the free hit darling of game week 34. I've got no doubt about it. Everyone on free hit. It's going to be so fun for him. I'm not on free hit, which is like, no, that's going to hurt me.
I'll be on it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. 34 for Gordon, especially, I reckon. Okay, big man, good stuff. Seeing your team there. There's over 300 of you watching, guys. Thank you all for your support. We're loving the likes, and we've had a few subscribe today, which has been nice. So welcome to Chasing Green Arrows if you're new around here. You'll catch us on Monday. We'll be going through a bit of a debrief on Monday as well. This is my team. I feel really well set this week, and I do have a free transfer. I'll be rolling. I think I've got two. Did I roll last week? I can't remember. I need to check my phone. Did I roll last week? No, I bought in Livramento. So yeah, it's just one free. I'm going to be rolling this week. There is an argument for me to bring in a better goalkeeper than Pickford, knowing Pickford doesn't have a good game. In the double against City next week. It's just one game against City. But I still don't know my chip strategy in terms of wildcard. If I'm wildcarding in 35, I want Pickford for 34 because he at least has a fixture versus Chelsea. And I still haven't committed to wildcard 34 versus 35. I need next week to think about that because I could just go Pickford to Raya this week. But then that limits me because Raya, of course, does not play in 34, but does double in 33. So with that, I'm giving myself another week to think about it, and I will be keeping Pickford one more week, or maybe for more. All my single game players have good fixtures other than Pickford. Like I've got Palmer and Enzo versus Ipswich, and I've got Marmoush versus Palace, and I've got Salah versus West Ham. So I'm in a really good place. I am going to be benching Morgan Rogers for the third week in a row. Please don't score 9 or 11 points this week, Morgan Rogers, because Enzo, Enzo was only really bought to be the 8th attacker. But I'm starting
playing him every week.
I'm playing him every week, and he did look good versus Brentford, but blanked, and he obviously scored against Spurs and got 3 bonus points. He didn't play last night, which was good, and Enzo is Chelsea's best player at the minute. Like he's not a bad pick, but he hasn't been the best of FPL options or assets, I should say. So yeah, no. Any comments for this team, guys? Before we do a couple of questions, Dean, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I mean, Enzo, might as well play him when he's playing against Ipswich again. The comparison really isn't too bad at the moment between him and Rodgers, and obviously Enzo's going to get more minutes. You would imagine in this one, Cole Palmer, I'd get rid of him, don't like him anymore.
But you're playing versus Ipswich, wouldn't you? You can't,
Is he going to play?
Yeah, he should do. Although we did look better without him last night. Big man, would you change Enzo or Palmer for Rodgers?
I don't think this is the week to do it. No.
Yeah, it's not the week to do it, but I just don't think you should have got rid of Palmer ages ago.
I know. And Ipswich, by the way, Ipswich actually aren't that bad, are they? Like Ipswich are all right. Like I don't think
they get relegated this weekend. Is that right? If they lose, do they get relegated?
Don't know.
I read that somewhere.
That feels a little bit too soon, really.
I thought that too.
I know that game against Wolves was massive last week, and they didn't win it. So
I'll have a quick look, but or someone can confirm it in the chat rather than and do my research for me. But I did see someone write that, so I just took it as gospel because I'm sucker for fake news, I guess.
Yeah, big man. With my idea around selling Pickford, and did you? I don't know if you took in what I said about 34-35 chip strategy and selling Pickford to Raya now, or give myself a week's more time. If I wildcard 35, I want to keep on to Pickford. What's your take there? I mean, I'm thinking if I wildcard 35, I keep Pickford and I do something like Burn to Bradley next week.
Yeah, I think now that you have Pickford with just one free transfer. With just one free transfer, I would just hold on to him. I think this could be a week where Forest and Everton have a low scoring fixture anyway. So while on paper the fixture is bad, but when you look at some of Forest's recent games, a lot of them have gone under 2 goals. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if this was a 1-0 Everton win or a 0-0 draw. I think I would definitely give myself the flexibility of another free transfer next week, and then decide what to do with Pickford.
Yeah, maybe I get Rico Lewis in for the double game week and keep him because that would be my plan. Sell Rico Lewis or Mikalenko for Bradley.
Gianni, I think you can also own him in game week 38 in the hope that he will start, and then next season by game week 1 you'll still be hoping that Rico Lewis starts, so you'll get him in your game week 1 team again.
I get the charity game for Rico Lewis. Do I get a start on game week 38? Gosh, that's what it's come to.
Have you signed a petition? Have you signed a petition to own Rico Lewis for every game in his career?
Imagine. That'll be me. That will be me. If I still own him in 38, that'll be hilarious. Is it mad to consider a Bowen surprise at Liverpool over Palmer at Ipswich? No, start Palmer. But Bowen, it is worth noting, in the last, I saw a tweet from Late Riser on from the Scout members area about Bowen and shots in the box. He was like top in the last 6 game weeks or since Potter's been there or something. Yeah, apparently, like it was really, really healthy numbers. But
I've
no,
kind
I
of stopped watching West Ham. I'm finding like West Ham just like kind of they've become kind of irrelevant in my mind, which so I couldn't actually say on Jared Bowen at the moment. But this is the kind of time when it catches you out, isn't it? Because West Ham are kind of irrelevant at the moment. They might, in these last few weeks, throw up some results because they're just kind of like carefree. It's just like Graham Potter's just getting an early pre-season in.
Yeah, exactly. Good super chat though. I like the fact you're looking at that ZM store, but I don't think it's one for me.
Thanks for the money, man. Appreciate it.
Let's go with 6 questions in the next 2 minutes. So quick fire answers. We're going to start with Big Man. We're going to go Big Man, Dean, Gianni. So Big Man, Michael's got one for you. Oh, it's an easy one to start with. A good one to start with.
Is Mateta triple captain any good? I don't think so. I think you just look at Isak and it's not one worth overthinking, in my opinion.
Next one for Dean.
Better to bench boost with more doublers but harder fixtures, or bench boost with better fixture. Oh my god, this is like a tongue twister. How am I supposed to? How's my brain supposed to deal with this? Better to bench boost with more doublers but harder fixtures, or bench boost with better fixtures but less doublers. Okay, I get it. I'd go for the doublers but harder fixtures. Like that's where I would go.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And
more games, you got more chances.
I personally found that question quite digestible and easy to read.
Did you? I like as I was reading it, I was like, watching what did it even say? Sorry, my brain.
I'm terrible at long questions as well. But that
as
one
soon as it gets to
easy.
a second line, I'm like, what does the next line say?
When we do our Wednesday streams, anytime I see a question with 2 lines, I chuck it to Big Man because he's so good at the long questions.
He's the smartest out of all 3 of us. That's why.
Yeah, it's the accountant. If you had Saliba and Raya, would you start them both? I'd play Guardiola. I'd go Guardiola and Raya. I think Brentford score. I fancy Brentford versus Arsenal, given the fact that Arsenal was high track with Real Madrid and Brentford can score goals against anyone. I'd go Raya and Guardiola.
I agree.
I do expect Saliba to start. Next question for Big Man. Oh, he's got a short one again.
Palmer out for Foden or Savinho? I would keep Palmer this week, as discussed earlier. Foden is definitely not worth buying. We were thinking of selling him.
Yeah. Don't go near Foden, guys. One for you, Dean.
I thought I was going to get the one that said from Jason that said, "Can fish see water?" I was waiting for that one. So I thought I was going to get an interesting one. Is Areola, Marmoush, Milenkovic, Robertson great for bench boost 32? Pretty good.
Where's that question gone? Can we see that question again? We've moved on to Sally.
Yeah, I know. I can still say Areola, Marmoush, Milenkovic, Robertson, great for bench boost 32. So, I mean, West Ham away at Liverpool probably not getting many points out of that one.
But they all start at least. You get 4 starters there. There's no injury problems with those 4. Looks good.
Yeah, exactly. I've forgotten who Forest got. Everton at home. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think that's good.
Keep a clean sheet. They always do. Gabriel to Livramento in double game week 32 or to Saliba for bench boost 33. I would go Gabriel to Livramento for 32 because you need 3 Newcastle. Get your Newcastle in place now. Go into this game week with triple Newcastle, guys, whatever you do. All right, wicked. That's taken us to the hour. Can you weigh in on triple captain Isak this week versus triple captain 36? It's a fair point, Devil Bird. 36, we're going to get some options. Marmoush could have a double, which includes Southampton, but I just feel like there's uncertainty there. There'll be uncertainty over the likes of Marmoush's minutes anyway, possibly by game week 36. We know what we're getting with Isak in 32. You're getting 2 starts, you're getting an informed team, you're getting 2 lots of St James's Park. Don't overthink it. If you've got your triple captain, I do think it's the call.
By the way,
guys,
sorry, before you go, mate, fish can see water in the sense that they are aware of their environment, but they don't perceive it the way that we do. It's kind of like how we don't see the air around us. That's what ChatGPT just told me. So there's the answer. So there you go.
Dean, how do you feel like ending every stream with a nugget of information like that you can provide? Because, I
don't provide it, mate. I think that's what ChatGPT was invented for these random questions that people think I won't have an answer for. And now, like 2 months ago, I wouldn't, but now I'm using this. I can answer anything people want. Like my kids ask me questions. I know everything these days.
Okay, so can you prepare a stupid question / answer for us every show? Because that's a nice little nugget, and it could replace.
It's good,
It could
isn't
be a
it?
bit
Yeah.
like your melon of the week, but different
True, on
feature.
ranks, yeah. That's that. We will always remember that now about fish and water, won't we? They just
Yeah.
see water how we see air. They're not actually aware of this. They like see it, but it's not aware of it.
It's amazing. There we go. Okay, good stuff. Can ChatGPT see ones and zeros? Okay, we're going to move away from this. We'll see you on Monday, guys. Thank you to Big Man. Thank you to Dean. Thank you to all you lovely chasers. Good luck this game week. May your arrows be green. See you on Monday.